This is Yannis Harris's video journal for Rent. Question 1. The first thing I noticed is how blunt the production was about issues considered by many to be extremely taboo. Homosexuality, drag, and especially the HIV/AIDS epidemic can be considered very difficult topics to discuss by a lot of people. I was also shocked at, despite really not liking the music too much, just not my, out of personal taste, the play itself really resonated with me and hit me very hard. I was legitimately very sad and almost tearing up at certain parts of it. As far as values being represented, one value being represented is friendship. This applies to the group of friends as a whole, and we see it in the solace Mark and Roger take in each other throughout the play. And we also see it in their disappointment in Benny for breaking the bonds of the friendship through negative reinforcement. Another value we see is love. Throughout the play, we constantly see the characters in search of romance, whether it be Angel and Collins, Mark and Maureen, Maureen and Joanne, or Roger and Mimi. This is clearly something deemed to be extremely important in this world being created in the play. Something I didn't know was the history of the HIV/AIDS epidemic and its public perception and link to the LGBT community in the 90s. Despite having heard of it in passing before, this assignment gave me cause to research it further, and by doing so, I better understand the societal pressures and obstacles the main cast faces by being afflicted with HIV, and the stigma they have to face. It also helps me understand why they're so reluctant to share that information. The diversity politics of the play are one of the main selling points. To be sure, as I mentioned earlier, this play includes many LGBT plus characters. Beyond that, however, I think it takes a deep look at HIV/AIDS. While LGBT representation is more common today than it was when Rent originally came out, HIV is something many productions, whether it be theater, film, or television, still won't address, and especially not make the focus of production. I think this is a topic that needs to be discussed more, and by adding it to the more common discourse, the play definitely is doing a service towards the afflicted community, most importantly by representing them as totally normal people who are still hopeful and optimistic. My one song to analyze is One Song Glory. I think that the song is a very real look at the mentality of people afflicted by HIV and AIDS. The desperation, hopelessness Roger feels is something that I think is a very real mentality the community could be facing. It also touches on the very human desire to want to make something of your life before it's snuffed out. And these are both thematically consistent with the rest of the play, but they also give us an in-depth look at Roger, who's one of the main characters, and his mental state and motivations in the play. So my new questions are that Rent was originally based off a play from the 19th century and adapted to be about HIV/AIDS. If you had to adapt one play and make it about a relevant topic today, what would it be? And then number 2, despite mostly gaining praise for its representation of the LGBT community, the play did draw criticism for its portrayal of stereotypical lesbian relationships. Do you think this criticism is valid?